talk to Gage.
Wes Anderson. Love him or hate him, he's got to be one of the most stylish directors working today. It feels like every single one of his movies are must-see and you just can't miss out on them. So today we're going to be going on a journey ranking each one of his movies from my least favorite to my very favorite. And this is going to be a lot of fun because Wes Anderson is among my favorite directors of all time. And those of you who have been a part of the channel for a little while now know that I've actually made this video before, not even a year ago, but in the 9 months since that first video that I made, he's released another movie and a lot of my opinions have changed as I've rewatched pretty much every one of his movies at least twice, except for the new one. So that being said, let's just dive right in and let's remake this video. Yeah, I'm cooked, I know. The weird thing about Life Aquatic is that when I initially watched it about a year ago, I really loved it. I thought it was so good. I really enjoyed Bill Murray. I enjoyed Bill Murray. I mean, who wouldn't, you know? I remember thinking just how amazing the story of this just guy feeling very lost, you know, especially later in life. And then on rewatch now, yeah, this is the bottom of my list, and I honestly was very bored by this movie. I just found it to be very dull and slow and boring and kind of unfunny. Like, really, I didn't laugh that much, and that's kind of weird, especially for a Wes Anderson movie. Like, I usually chuckle and laugh along with most of his films, especially the ones that are obviously, you know, trying to be funny. There's just not a lot about this one that really stands out to me. I mean, there's a few things. I will say that Jeff Goldblum just standing around mid-gunfight is always, like, the funniest freaking thing to me. He just looks like he has no idea what's going on. Any underwater sequence is beautiful, like genuinely very pretty. And the final sequence with the shark is also quite breathtaking. But besides that, this movie's all over the freaking place. But anyways, let's just move on before I get cooked. In that original video that I made ranking Wes's movies, The French Dispatch was pretty low, and I'm sad to say that that really hasn't changed that much. Oh boy. Look, I think that there's a lot of great things about The French Dispatch. I think it is very beautiful. It's freaking French Dispatch, guys. Like, it looks amazing. I also think it's notable for being the only film in Wes's filmography that's an anthology. You have 3 separate stories in here, all being covered by this newspaper. I think that's a really cool idea for a movie. It just is. In terms of that, I can enjoy this movie. I can enjoy aspects of it, of course. I don't know, there's just not a lot that really connects with me, if I'm being honest. I think the first story is probably the best one. It's probably my favorite, but yeah, I mean, the style's good. That's another thing. Again, visually, like, this is really strong. This is not one that I revisit all that often, if I'm being honest. And this brings us to Wes's newest movie, The Phoenician Scheme. And this is the only movie in his filmography I've only seen once, so I'm only going off of that first viewing. And based on that viewing, I enjoyed it. I actually really like this movie, but there's definitely things that annoy me about it. So for the past few years, Wes has been making a lot of movies that are much more art house, I'll say. You have to engage with them more, you know what I mean? Like, there's a lot more thought that you have to really engage with the viewing experience to get the full effect, so to speak. And I remember when this movie first started out, I was really excited because to me it felt like a return to form. You know, it's this entertaining, almost, you know, reminded me of Budapest Hotel in that it's sort of this adventure setup for the movie. And so the first half was amazing. I thought it was amazing. I thought it was gold, funny. I really liked the performances, especially from Benicio del Toro. And there's just a lot of like good gags and moments in here. But I don't know if maybe this is only me, but the second half of the movie I just found to be, kind of went back to that same approach of it being a lot more heady. There's a lot more that you have to really, you know, dig into the themes and what it's maybe really saying. And really, this might just be a situation where I just need to rewatch it. Maybe I just need to revisit this movie here in a year or two, and maybe my opinion will change. But based on this first viewing, I would say this is probably where I'd put it on the list. The Royal Tenenbaums is probably the most confusing Wes Anderson rewatch for me, as I remember watching it both these times, and it just feels like the type of movie that I should love. Like, it feels like it should be up there in like my top 3 or top 5, maybe, at the very least, of my favorite Wes Anderson movies, because it has everything that I like about the best of his films. You know, it has the broken family dynamic, it has the comedy, it has the really happy moments that really just makes the emotional core of this movie work so so well. But at the same time, this movie has never been that high for me. I've always put it fairly low on my list, and I was really trying to understand that on rewatch. I think the thing that bothers me is that maybe this movie's stretched a little bit too thin. That's what I keep on going back to, is that there's some great moments. There's moments in here that are like, wow, like that's kind of amazing. You know, I always thought it's one of Wes's most dramatic movies, you know. The way that they explore this family dynamic is just such a great idea. The moments when Royal is hanging out with the two young boys are just some of my favorite moments in the movie, because I just think it's exactly, everything clicks, you know, everything clicks for me. I enjoy it. I'm having a good time, and I really like the message of the movie, especially by the end. I will say the ending is also extremely good, but ultimately I just think that this movie has so many different characters. There's so much going on. Not all of it just hits the same as Royal hanging out with the two little boys, and that's how I've always felt about this movie. I nonetheless still very much enjoy it, and that's why it's a little bit higher on this list than some of the others below it. But this is a movie that I think I need to revisit a few more times before I adore it the way that many of you guys do. So I've always thought that The Grand Budapest Hotel is one of Wes Anderson's greatest movies. Arguably, this is his greatest movie, as I think it's the perfect blend of all the things that people love about his films. It's a fun comedy and adventure movie. It's a movie that you can enjoy just for the surface level humor and whimsy and action of it all. Almost anyone could have fun with this movie. But then on the other side, this movie does so much with its style. All of the colors are incredible. The sets are magnificent. The changes in aspect ratio constantly, and you know, it's such creative and fun ways. And then also, you know, the colors changing to black and white. It's really incredible, and it's a landmark title visually, especially in his catalog. And I appreciate that it just goes full on, I'm making a movie to entertain you, and it is simply incredible. Not my favorite, but I honestly think this might be his best movie. Originally, I debated on adding The Wonderful Story of Henry Sugar in this list at all, as it's not necessarily considered a full-length feature film, but frick it, I've watched it before and I'm ranking his movies, so let's just freaking do it. Let's talk about it. So I've actually not rewatched this one either, so I guess I lied earlier when I said I've rewatched all of them except for a freaking Phoenician Scheme. But what I remember about this movie is I remember it just being a very wholesome film. It was a movie that really had this great message of putting other people ahead of yourself. You know, it's one of those special movie experiences where it just makes you smile, and it just reminds you that your goodness is very important. It's important to be good to people and to be charitable. You know, gets in and gets out, because it's only like 40 minutes. It's just a wonderful story about a man named Henry Sugar. I think I originally had Rushmore really low on my list. Let me check. Okay, so coming in at number 11 for me, it's gotta be Rushmore. What the frick? I had this at the bottom? Okay, so I don't know what I was smoking when I made that original ranking video, but for some reason, Rushmore was at the very bottom. Times have changed. This movie is so funny. I think that this does so much comedically. I think it does so much in terms of its story and writing and its characterization, really. Like there's a lot to admire about this. There really is. Yes, this is the movie where a 15-year-old teenager falls in love with his teacher. Yeah, there's definitely some like awkward moments with that for sure, but honestly, it's kind of grown on me to the point where it doesn't bother me that much, especially because it's not something that's like reciprocated, you know, like the adult isn't like freaking hitting on the kid. But Rushmore to me just feels very rewatchable because it's not super long. It's a comedy and it's very funny, and this is where we sort of started to see the birth of Wes's signature style. We saw a lot more of his style within this movie, and this was like Jason Schwartzman's like first movie ever, and he like does incredible. Like he's so good. Yeah, maybe Max is kind of unlikable, but I've always found him to be really interesting because there's definitely a lot that the movie doesn't spell out for you, and you know, especially when it comes to his backstory. Yeah, I just find the story really impactful because, you know, he's trying to prove himself. He's trying to be successful, you know, and he's trying to invest himself in all these different things, all these different extracurricular activities. But the story kind of goes full circle where it's ultimately about Max just kind of finding the one thing that he's really good at that really engages him in life. And that's what it means to be successful. So in that way, this is a movie that I think I'm going to revisit for years to come. So if you've been following along so far, you've probably been very confused as to why I haven't already talked about Bottle Rocket. And that's because it's better than a lot of his other movies, admit it. Bottle Rocket's a movie that I've honestly always enjoyed. I remember initially watching it given like a 3 out of 5 stars, and it's just steadily grown and grown to me. And I just enjoy this movie way more than most people. Yes, it is this high on this list. Yeah, I just find it very funny. It's got a lot of humor. It's very quirky. This was the start of the Wilson brothers in their acting career. This was the start of Wes. Yeah, his style isn't as thick in this movie, but I just love it. I always have a good time with it. Yeah, it's not the most like amazing, most life-changing script out there. It just never ceases to put a smile on my face, and I just enjoy revisiting this movie. It really went up on a rewatch to where it's just fun, guys. Like, this is just a funny movie. It's so quirky and way funnier than I originally thought it was. So Bottle Rocket's this high because it's better than a lot of his other movies. Fight me. So right before making this list, I rewatched Asteroid City. That's the most recent movie in this list I've seen. And I really went back and forth whether I wanted to put it at this spot or I want to put Bottle Rocket. I really was having a hard time, but I feel confident and safe enough putting it here this high on the list. Asteroid City is a movie that went way over my head the first time I watched it. It was the second of Wes's new trilogy of movies, and I was very lost. I had no idea what was going on. It's safe to say, though, on rewatch, this is incredible. The feelings this instills of just existential dread is really powerful, especially in a post-COVID world. I really do think you could read this movie as having some COVID allegories going on, There's definitely a lot to this movie I don't fully comprehend, but it's a movie I felt, and for that I think it's a really special movie among his filmography, and that's why I just had to put it this high. Asteroid City freaking slaps. So it's always perplexed me that I tend to like the Wes Anderson movies that other people put lower on their lists. In that way, I'm kind of the exact opposite of a lot of people. And Isle of Dogs is no exception. Most people's lists put this at the very bottom. Like, what the frick is wrong with all of you? Isle of Dogs is always a good time. It's extremely stylish. It's probably Wes's most beautiful looking movie. Every shot in this thing is colorful, unique, amazing. I remember upgrading from the DVD to the Blu-ray of this thing, and holy frick, like, this just completely changed the movie for me. You could see so many more details in each of these locations that we're going to. Yeah, maybe it's not the most complex and deep story, but I've always read it as a story about love, the love between a little boy and his sweet dog, and sometimes that's all you want in a movie. You know what I mean? I also just love how the movie translates all the Japanese for us, and it's a movie that really just wouldn't work any other way than it does, and I think it works really well. And with this, we've entered the top 3 of the list, and I couldn't think of a better spot to put Moonrise Kingdom. This is a film that means a lot to me. From here on out, all 3 of these movies are 5 out of 5, 10 out of 10 masterpieces and movies that have meant a lot to me personally. Moonrise Kingdom. I remember when I first watched this movie, I was going through a really hard time, feeling very lonely in life. I remember being stuck at home because I had a big cyst on my spleen that I needed to go in for surgery to remove. And I watched this movie. I remember feeling seen. It felt like Wes understood what I was going through, understood these feelings I had at the time of just wanting to run away from life. I'm not much of a loner, so I've always wanted to go with someone. I didn't really want to go by myself, and that's something that this movie captures. I was really surprised because it wasn't long after watching this movie that I ended up meeting who would become my wife currently. And in a way, it really feels like this movie has really gone through this journey with me. You know, it was a movie that came into my life at the perfect time and really touched my life. You know, it really was one of those rare examples when you experience a story, a piece of art that just really resonates with you on an emotional level, a way that you feel it. And I felt it. It was something that I really felt. So Moonrise Kingdom, I think, will always be a very special movie to me. The scene where the kids are dancing on the beach almost always makes me want to cry, and the final shot is one of the most beautiful things I've ever seen in cinema. If you've ever felt lonely and just felt like you just want to run away from everything that's going on, watch this movie. The Darjeeling Limited. Oh, frick yeah. This movie is so underrated, guys. Maybe it's just the brother in me speaking, because I have a bunch of brothers, and so I really relate to this, so I'm fully aware of that. I find this to be one of his best movies, guys. Like, honestly, some days I go back and forth on this being my favorite Wes Anderson movie. I'm serious. Just the story of these three brothers who have grown apart, reconnecting and going on this spiritual journey is amazing. Like, it's really powerful. It's the type of thing that I feel like is always going to be applicable to me in my life. I'm always going to relate to it in such a powerful way, and I can't wait to keep on revisiting this movie over and over again. There's never a dull moment. Every single instance in this movie is fun, entertaining, and really meaningful. If you've ever had a strained relationship with a family member, if you've ever had siblings, this is a must-watch movie. There's really nothing like it. It's remarkable. It has one of my favorite casts. The sheer chemistry between Jason Schwartzman and Owen Wilson and Adrian Brody is palpable. They feel like brothers, and I just am so thankful that this movie got made. Thank you, Wes. And coming at number one, this should be no surprise to any of you, Fantastic Mr. Fox. It was my cinematic awakening, guys. I remember watching this movie a few years back at a time when I really didn't watch a whole lot of movies. Mainly, I would just watch the new Marvel movie or the new blockbuster that came around each year, but that was pretty much about it. Occasional movies at night with my family. That was the extent of my movie journey, you know? But then comes in Fantastic Mr. Fox, which I discovered through Carson Runquist's channel. And this thing blew my mind. It showed me that movies, that cinema can really teach you things. It can have emotional moments that really resonate, things that are important. And it felt like it wasn't just the surface level story I was paying attention to anymore, but it was the themes, the characters. It was amazing. I realized there was so much more out there to movies, and it introduced me to a whole other style of cinema that I really hadn't engaged with throughout the first like 20 years of my life. So needless to say, it was an amazing experience that I feel nostalgic for, and I oftentimes wish I could go back to how it felt finding this movie and watching it for the first time, or really the first like friggin' like 10 times. I watched this movie all the time when I first, literally I probably watched it like 10 times within the first year that I saw it. I just kept rewatching it over and over again. I'm pretty sure it's Wes's shortest movie, so that helps quite a bit if you want to watch it over and over like me and just get addicted. Like, come on guys, this is his best movie. I've always appreciated the character of Ash. I feel like Fox and Ash themselves are probably the strongest character writing in this movie. You can really examine the overall message, either of them, and get something so unique and different, you know, depending on who you're really following and really analyzing and thinking about. And I've always really appreciated that. It's a movie about finding your identity. It's a very mature story because your identity changes, you know, who you are sort of ebbs and flows throughout life. And this is a movie that I feel like anyone can enjoy because, you know, it's really well made, and it's an amazing movie that, yeah, like kids can enjoy it too, but it's also extremely funny. It's got great comedy and moments and drama, and yeah, it's always going to be a powerful movie. This is not only my favorite Wes Anderson movie, but it's also my third favorite movie of all time. So with all that being said, I really hope you all enjoyed the video. This was something a little bit different that I really wanted to try out. I was really inspired by my younger brother Gabriel in making this video, and so I hope y'all will go check out his channel. I'm going to try to have links around the video, the vids in the channel, so y'all can go check him out. And yeah, I just had a lot of fun putting this thing together. It was something that I've wanted to revisit for a while now, and thank you guys for hanging around for so long to we're friggin' past 1,000 subscribers, and I can't wait to see where we go in the future. So with all that being said, stay tuned. I'll be back.